now folks, today we're going to switch things up a little bit and talk about a prototype print and play game that is not for an upcoming Kickstarter that someone wanted me to review. In this case, the game is Red from Asmodee Games. This is my own little homebrew version of the game. You can actually download the free print and play files online. I'll have the link down in the comments. This is from Asmodee Games, who's responsible for We Didn't Playtest This at All, Innovation, and a number of other games. And it was co-designed by two different people. One of them was Chris Cheslak, who is the president of Asmodee Games and was responsible for We Didn't Playtest This at All. The other designer is Carl Chuddick, who designed Innovation, but also Glory to Rome, so a couple of really well-known card games. And they also both work together on Impulse, which should be coming out from Asmodee Games very soon. Now, I found out about this game Red from a blog post article from Eric Martin on Board Game Geek. So if you want to know, he gave the game very high praise, so it got me interested in it. And if you want to know more, I'll also have the link to his article down in the comments section. I liked this article so much that I went ahead and printed out the game and decided to give it a try for myself. Now, at first glance, it's a very simple looking game. There's not a lot of cards to it. There's actually only 49 main cards and a few cheat sheet cards as well to help get you through the rules. But it is deceptively complex, and there is some strategy to be had here. I think the word that Eric Martin gave to it is mind twisty, brain twisty, and I think I agree with that. But before I get too much into it, let's go ahead and go to the overview, very brief overview, then we're going to come back. I'll let you know what I think. Okay, I'm going to give you an overview of the game Red. The important thing to note here is that this is a prototype print and play version of the game. There should be an official version later in the year, but just know that some things may change, some small rules may have some adjustments, and there are no official scoring rules yet, so that is all something to keep in mind. And as you can tell, I've used my own card sleeves here in order to make the print and play version, so those won't be in the final game either. Now, what is Red? This is a competitive card game for 2 to 4 players, and the goal is to make sure that you win the game every single round. If there's ever a round where you don't win the game, you are out. That sounds a little bit weird, but as I explain the game, it'll become a little clearer. Now, you have a main deck of cards here that's going to have 49 cards in it. There's 7 cards each of 7 different colors, and those colors correspond to the colors of the rainbow. Every player will have a little cheat sheet card here that will tell you the different priority of the colors. Of course, if you remember from grade school, there's Roy G. Biv. And this indicates that while numbers always trump anything else, so for instance, a 7 will always beat a 6, and every card, all 7 colors have numbers 1 through 7 for each of the colors. A 7 always beats a 6, but if there's a tie for colors, for numbers, then you have to look at colors. So in other words, a red 5 will always beat an orange 5. A red 7 will beat anything because it's the highest color and highest number, and a violet 1 is the lowest card you can possibly get. So if there's ever a tie, you got to refer to color priority. Now, at the beginning of the game, each player is going to get 7 cards from the deck, and every player is also going to get a card that's going to be flipped face up in front of them that starts their color palette. And now there's also a card here that is the starting card that will start the discard pile. It says you are playing red, highest card wins. Now, when everyone at the beginning just has their hand of cards and the card face up in front of them, you'll look at who has the highest card amongst each player. So the highest number, or if there's a tie, the highest number with highest color, and the player to that person's left is going to begin the game. On your turn, you can play 1 or 2 cards. One of the cards, if you want, can be discarded into the pile here in order to change the rules of the game. The second play that you could possibly make is to play another card down onto your palette, but you can only, at the end of the round, your goal is to make sure that you are actually winning what the current game is. So you can play any card down to your palette, but if you're not winning at that point, you are out of the rounds. Now, what do I mean by changing the rules of the game? Well, I mentioned that the rules start off on red, which is to say that the highest card wins. At any time during the course of the game, if the rules change to a different color, you can discard a red card in order to change it back to highest card wins. Now, if you don't like that rule, if you find that there's no way you can possibly play a card down that's going to be the highest card for the round, and you need to be winning at that point, you can change the rules to something else. So, for instance, orange. If you're playing orange, you have to have as many cards as possible of one number. So you have the most cards that all share a number. So if I were to discard this card and I had just one card of one number, well, that's not going to be enough because everyone's going to have a card in front of them. But if I had, let's say that I had two twos in front of me, and I discarded the orange card, and that was the new rule that I have the most cards of one number, well, then I would be winning. But again, if there's a tie, you have to follow color priority. It's the highest number and then the highest color. So if I had two twos and another player had two threes, well, that player would be winning. Or if someone else had a clear majority, which is to say 3 cards of the same number, then that player would be winning. And if I'm not winning at the end of my turn, I am out. Some of the other rules that you have yellow. If you discard a yellow card, then that means that you have to have as many cards as possible of one color. So if you have the most cards that share one color, then you are going to be winning the round. Or if you have the most highest cards sharing a color. You also have the green, which is the most cards that total to 7. This seems to be the one that has the most confusion. But again, you're always looking to have the most number of cards out, and then you're going to look at the highest cards and the color priority. So in this case, if someone just has a 7 in front of them, and that's the rule, and no one else has cards that amount to 7, then they'd be winning. But if someone else has a 4, a 2, and a 1 in front of them, well, that adds up to 7, and that is the most amount of cards, so they would be winning for the round. Next, you have blue, and blue says that you have to have the most cards of all different colors. There you go. So if let's say, someone else had 2 cards of 2 different colors, but I happen to have 3 different colors in front of me, regardless of what their numbers are, I would be winning. But if I was tied with someone else, we would compare the numbers in the color and see who has the highest. Then we're going to go on to indigo. The indigo rule says that you have to have a run of cards. So 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and so on and so on. The more you have, the longer your run is, the more likely it is that you're going to be the winner for the round. And again, then you compare highest cards and color priority. And finally, we have, I hope I didn't skip any, we have violet. Violet is having the most even cards. So if you have the most even cards in front of you, regardless of what they are, 2, 4, or 6, then you are going to be winning. And then you compare highest card and color priority. And that's the game. On your turn, you play. You always play at least one card. You're either going to change or you don't have to play a card, I should say. If you're currently winning the game when it gets around to your turn, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. But you could optionally, or if you have to, change the rule by discarding a card and then play a card down to your palette. You can do one or the other. You could do both. If you do both, then you also get to draw a card from the deck, which could be a good thing if you find that your strategy is a bit lacking and you're not going to be able to get you're backing yourself into a corner. Because that's what the game does promote some forward thinking. You have to make sure that you're trying to accomplish multiple goals all at once in case someone changes it to a rule that you might have a hard time trying to compete and win on one of your following turns. And that's basically red. Play 1 or 2 cards, try to make sure that you're winning every single round. Well, to quote the Secret Cabal, guys, this game charmed the pants off me. It's difficult to explain what I like about it so much. I mean, it's very simple. You know, I can explain this in less than 5 minutes. The most difficult part to explain is just how the different goals work for each of the different cards, because some people have a hard time wrapping their head around the idea of having the most of something, and then you go by color, and the highest number, then color, priority, things like that. Once you get that, not scoring so much, but once you get that little goal system out of the way, what you're aiming for with each of the different cards, once you get that out of the way, it's a very simple game. You just play 1 or 2 cards on your turn and hope that you are winning at the end. The game is not about winning so much as about not losing, which can also be a trippy concept to wrap your head around. But once you get it going, and once you get through that first game, it's very quick. So once you get through 1 or 2 games with the people that you're playing with, this game just sings. It's such a cool little game because it doesn't seem like there'd be a lot of strategy, but there is. This game rewards forward thinking. It's not just about how do I win this turn and stay in the game. It's about how do I win this turn, stay in the game, and set myself up for future turns. Because it's just constant pressure. You're under constant pressure to win whatever the game happens to be for that round. And you need to plan ahead for that. You need to say, okay, I could play this card and it would have me win the game. But if I play this for the round, like let's say I'm trying to do a run of cards. So I've got 2 4s here. I could just go ahead and play this one. But if I play this one instead, it's another different color. So if someone changes the game to most colors, that's setting me up for a future turn. At the same time, it's hand management and making sure that you have enough cards to work with. If you run out of cards too soon, you're always going to be dumping cards, but if you're not careful about it, if you don't manage your hand well enough, you're going to get yourself painted into a corner and stuck, and then it's just inevitable that you're going to run out. So that's why you have to make sure that you have, they call it a palette in the game. I think of card drafting games and say, like Seasons, and say tableau. You have to make sure that your tableau is well stocked with the different objectives and making sure that you can throw down a card at a moment's notice and actually be winning for that turn. It's really fun, it's really fast, it's really light. Even just the print and play version just looks cool because, it's simple with the color scheme and the graphic design, but that's the way it's supposed to be. This is a very accessible game. You can teach this to anyone. I think that people who are used to traditional card games will really enjoy how this changes things up. I like the whole idea of the colors and the color priority and tying it in with the whole rainbow color. Supposedly there's going to be an expansion called Infrared that will have a different color scheme, which gives you different options to incorporate into the game. And I am just really looking forward to an official release of this with really high quality card stock and to see what other little variants. And they don't have advanced scoring rules yet. So when I was playing it with people, I played this with 2 players, 3 players, and 4 players. So pretty much every allotment, that's all that there is. I played it with each of those groups. It was always fun. Everyone always enjoyed it to varying degrees. I really enjoyed it. And I think that with an official version, with official scoring rules, where you're not just playing around and just trying to keep track of who won the most, I think that could make it even better. So this is definitely one to keep on your radar for the following year. I don't normally take a look at games that are just print and play, and I don't even usually take the time to print and play, but I'm certainly glad that I did in this case. That's Red, coming soon from Asmodee Games. My name is Nick, this has been Board Game Brawl, and I'm reminding you to get out there and game every day and in every way. Take care.